The UK race riots is what it looks like from this side of the pond. It's Burn It Down with Kim Brown, Tuesday, Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And looking over at what has happened or what is ongoing in the UK in the aftermath of what was just a tragic, horrific event that happened, I believe, in the north of the country, where three children were murdered and 10 others were injured by a 17-year-old Black British boy. Okay. Now, in the wake of all of this, there has been a lot of misinformation intentionally, obviously, put out to inflame racial and racist antagonism there in the UK. And in the wake of what we've been seeing in recent history in Britain with the Brexit, with the whole deportations of non-white people, basically trying to send the subcontinental people back to India, back to Pakistan, trying to send the Africans back to Africa, trying to send the Caribbeans back to the Caribbean, trying to deport the Windrush generation, the people that came and kept the country fucking afloat post-war. Oh, these Brits got a lot of goddamn nerve to be pissed off racially, because now this is turned away from being upset about the murder of these children, right, and turned into racial pouting, the tantrums in the street marked with violence targeting Muslims, targeting Black folks. And they're upset about this boy, this 17-year-old boy, but their upset now has shifted from being upset about the murder of the children to these lies about him being an immigrant, which he isn't. This child was born in the UK, attended UK schools his entire life. British, okay, by nationality and by birth, not an immigrant. And even if he was an immigrant, there have been a number of recent atrocities in the last several years with either white cops or white men committing horrific violence against women. We covered one story here in which the British cop was accused of sexually assaulting dozens of women. Didn't see the white man them in the street rioting about that shit, did you? You didn't see the indignancy of the white rage. They wasn't upset about that. And to be clear, it's all horrific. At any time children are murdered, yes, people should be upset, but that's not what these people are upset about. So anyway, where shall we begin? Because you guys, you know that the vids are indeed plentiful. So let's go ahead and start with some of the coverage. And you guys, I actually meant to, I didn't put this up on the Chiron, and I meant to, because I wanted to call this shit UKKK racial rage. Or race riots. There we go. Let me tweak that on the fly. UKKK race riots. Because the UK is looking mighty like the UKKK. they looking a lot like the UKKK, which should surprise no one. Certainly not from this side of the pond, but you guys already know that. So, well, let's go ahead and run that first clip. Now, these are a collection of packages, I believe. Let's see who we got here. We got Deutsche Welle with a package. We got interesting race riot footage from the Washington Post and a couple of other places. And I said, wow, look at the whites doing exactly what American whites accuse Black folks of doing when, you know, police violence occurs, for example. So anyway, let's get caught up to speed here, everybody. These are, it's the race riots. The whites are tearing up Britain. Let's take a look.
Proud English person, seen the state and the decline of our country over the last few years, and I've had enough. We need to stand together. We need to be heard.
Before I talk about the scenes overnight, you know, let's just reflect on why we are actually here, and that's the dreadful events of Monday. And there's 3 little girls, Alice, BB and Elsie, who've tragically lost their lives.
What did we do to deserve this? We've already lost our children. You know, our community's grieving. How dare they come here to our town and do this? It's disgusting. It really is disgusting.
We see far-right extremism right the way across Europe, and we're no different. And we need to ensure that we counter some of the fake news and the false narratives that these people rely on.
One of the problems also is that they are giving the Muslim a very bad name, and obviously making the focus go away from the grieved family that rightfully we should all be feeling sorry for them, and we should support them.
Community leaders have been speaking to the police as well, because
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Fuck Idi Amin!
But I think, apologies for the language you're hearing, but a sense of the anger I think you can hear there.
Yeah, Katie, I think Becky, I apologise. We need to...
So a wide smattering of those scenes, right? So we saw a cross section of demonstrations and views being expressed, not just the white supremacists out there, but there was plenty of counter protests going on. You saw the clip of the Free Palestine, fuck y'all, on live British television. Gotta love that. But I also appreciated, you know, the residents where those little girls were murdered and the others were attacked, saying, "How dare y'all come to our town when we are grieving? Like, this is bullshit. Like, you coming to here with this for it to accomplish what exactly? To accomplish what exactly is a really good question, because I look at those scenes and I wonder if it's a preview of coming attractions for what happens the day after election day 2024 here in the United States, because we know that immigration is a giant issue, especially that Trump and the conservatives are running on. They use phrases like invasion. Trump uses astronomical numbers of people he alleges are coming across the southern border, but they're serious about this shit, right? They dispatch their own armed militias to quote unquote secure the border, where migrants are routinely harmed, murdered, brutalized, sexually assaulted by the likes of those that want to so-called protect America, right? Ooh, that shit is so that shit in the UK, that shit is it's hitting me a little too close to home, considering the tenor of things on the issue of immigration here in the US, right? But in the UK, you know, all of this simmering, and maybe it's unfair to call it simmering, you know, racial tensions. Well, really, it's white resentment towards non-white folks. And the funny thing is, like, proportionately, when you compare the US to the UK population, like UK is way whiter. Okay. Like this percentage wise of people of African descent, right? Either coming from the continent, coming from the Caribbean, and then you got the other minorities, you got the East Asians, you got the Southeast Asians. You add all of them up in the UK and they numbers don't equal proportionality wise to what non-white people equal over here, right? So it's very white, right? And am I right about this UK? Like you only got black folks handful of play. I mean, it's black folks kind of everywhere, but they are concentrated, right, in particular pockets. I would imagine. But anyway, and all of the white resentment towards black migrants and black workers. When by the way, were it not for black Caribbean workers, black African workers working in the national healthcare system, the NHS, Britain would collapse. Am I right or wrong, y'all? There was a good chunk, I want to say 25 to 30%. Correct me on my numbers if I have that incorrect. But 25 to 30% of workers for the NHS are not white. Overwhelmingly, they are of African descent of somehow, right? They are part of the diaspora. Subtract all of them folks from your healthcare system, UK, and what do you have? Collapse. That's correct. You have a failure. Anywho, so there is, let's see, who do we want to hear from? I actually think, let me hear from this punk ass police. Because I saw, like, again, a little bit of the counter protests, but I'm wondering, you know, is this the Britain that now Keir Starmer represents, right? Oh, and by the way, you know, the election of a labor leader, I don't know if that helped to contribute to some of this, right? Maybe it didn't. Maybe they's like, well, he's a white, it'll be fine. Oh my God, thank you so much. Someone just ran us some bucks. Hold on. Appreciate that. That's what you do. What's up, J Kofi? Appreciate that. Thank you so much. That is dope. Thank you so much for your Cash App support. See, I didn't even say it. Y'all already supporting. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's take a listen to what the police had to say, because from what I understand, there were over 100 arrests made. You saw the whites tearing up shit. Did you see them running into what was that? The UK equivalent of Bed Bath and Beyond, going in there stealing the shit out of them candles. In there stealing the shit out of them shower accessories. I said, look at them thieving. I said, that's what they did in Africa. They just kicked in the door and plundered. That's what they did in North America and South America and Asia. Yeah. That's how all of this is very much on brand. This lines up historically with the ancestors, their ancestors. Is that the next clip I have here, Will? Is it the motherfucking cop? Let's go ahead and listen to the West Midlands chief of police, because I actually think they claim to be looking for folks, right? I guess this is like a countrywide J6. They're gonna put people's pictures out and see if you saw them running up into the UK Bed Bath and Beyond. Let's take a listen to the chief of police, or the HCIC from West Midlands, condemning the violence.
Those people involved in the disorder yesterday evening will be brought to justice. We've already made an arrest, and the teams are out actively pursuing other people that were involved in disorder yesterday evening. We've launched our major incident public portal that will allow people to submit mobile phone footage, CCTV and other information through to the police, and this will help us to help our communities bring those offenders to justice and prevent a reoccurrence. We will not tolerate disorder within the streets of Birmingham. We are there to facilitate that peaceful protest. So what we've seen across our communities is misinformation. We know that there was misinformation that was proposed last night that led to our communities coming out on the streets. What I would ask is, We're doing everything that we can in terms of working with the community leaders, faith leaders, to get our messages out. Please take your information from reliable sources. If you want to follow West Midlands Police on either their Facebook page or X, we will be providing regular updates in terms of accurate information.
I have a question for the chat. Fire fam, riddle me this. Is it misinformation or is it dumbassery? Is it misinformation or is it being a media illiterate asshole, right? I understand it can be both. It could be actually multiple things, right? As much as we want to wag the finger at misinformation and please get your sources together, motherfucker, go look the shit up before you take to the goddamn streets to go tear shit up about some shit that is already patently false about this 17-year-old who is accused of this heinous crime. They have released his name now, per like it's supposed to be like it is in the US. When there are minors accused of felonies or really any crime, if you're arrested as a minor, they being the law, and by extension, I suppose the media, are not supposed to name you as a minor. Why doesn't the media normally name adolescents charged with felonies or charged with crimes? Because the idea is that you don't want to forever tarnish or smear or ruin a child's chances of rehabilitation, and them giving the child the opportunity to start fresh once they serve their time or get their punishment adjudicated, etc. But this child has been named. I'm not going to name him. You can look it up. He is 17 right now, and I believe he's going to shortly turn 18. So the authorities said that the reason that they released this child's name is to counteract some of the misinformation that was being widely broadcast on social media about him, his citizenship status, his religious affiliation. And again, this young man, born in the UK, raised in the UK, schooled in the UK. Now, you guys know there are some trusted Black British voices that I always encourage us to check out. The good brother, Dr. Kehinde Andrews. No, I'm gonna say it. If in the different dimension, so there's multiple dimensions, right? Sorry, pause. Put a pin in this. In the multiverse, right? In the sort of everywhere. What's the shit called? Everywhere, anything, all at once, all the things, all at once. Subtitles. that movie where there's multiple shit happening. In this existence, I am child free, right? In another existence, I have many baby fathers. Okay. I can't count them all. Okay. I can't count on my children's fathers. And one of them is Kehinde Andrews. Don't tell him that. Dr. Andrews is absolutely one of my child's fathers in a different dimension. Because I got a baby father from around the globe in the other dimension. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So anyway, go to Make It Plain. Go to Dr. Andrews, follow Kehinde Andrews on all the social media things, because Dr. Andrews penned a piece telling us that we are paying way too much attention to some of these racist voices, which I would agree. Unfortunately, they are the ones being the loudest and making the most noise. And, the squeaky wheel gets the attention, right? But one of my other most trusted, probably the most trusted Black British source is none other than the goddess MC, Kelechi Okafor. I always go to Kelechi for things Black and British. She gonna tell me. And she's a wonderful presenter of British news generally, So indeed, KelechiOkafor.com. But I want us to hear from Kelechi because, I'm way over here looking at that shit from way over here. I want to hear from the Black folks that are there on the ground who got to live with these same people, who live with this constant racial tension, not unlike with what we deal with here in the United States, not unlike with what Black and brown people deal with in all of these imperial fucking countries of European, descent and origin, right? Hard out here for colonized folk, okay? It's hard out here for colonized folk. But Kalechi gonna put the thing in perspective for us. So yes, let me turn it over to Kalechi, please.
Morning. I've just finished a long run and I've only got a little bit of battery left, so I'm going to try and be quick with this. If I look dusty and salty, stick with me, it's the sweat. What I wanted to say to you today is about those riots that I've been seeing. Let's call them what they are. They are riots. Stop calling them protests. Stop calling them activists. I'm tired of all the rhetoric that you're coming out with. Call it what it is. Now, in spirituality, regardless of which denomination that you ascribe to, right? They say that if you want to cast out a demon, you need to know the demon's name. You have to call the demon by its name in order to be able to cast it out and tell it to leave, right? And so the issue with Britain is that Britain does not want you to call the demon by its name. The name is white supremacy. Like every other name, we're dancing around it. We're like, oh, they're far right this, they're that. It's unconscious bias. Britain is a tolerant country. What do you mean tolerant? Have you ever sat down to break down the rhetoric that you use as it pertains to Britain? Britain is a tolerant country. What do you tolerate? You tolerate something you don't like. And so we're told all of the time, I don't like you, but I'm tolerating you being here. How is that a positive thing? Britain is a multicultural country. Britain is not a multicultural country. Britain is a multi-ethnic country. You have numerous ethnicities or various ethnicities that live in Britain, but Britain has one culture, one dominant culture, and that's what's being perpetuated right now. And then you've got, members of parliament who are saying things to you like, oh, this isn't the Britain, this doesn't represent Britain, this isn't the Britain I know. How did Britain come to be great? Does everybody need a history lesson? The same violence that you're seeing playing out now is the whole reason that Britain was able to dominate most of the world from that very same depravity. But instead of being educated as to the history and the energy that pervades this island, people don't want to talk about it. Everyone's pretending like they don't know how we got here. You feel like just because you voted in a Labour government, your work is done. Everybody get to work immediately, especially the Liberals. You lot get to work immediately because you're too busy telling us that, oh, hatred won't solve anything and you're disgusted by what you're seeing. If you're so disgusted by what you're seeing, go and tell your granddads, your uncles and your fathers and your brothers to stop the behaviour. That they need to group up and attack people. And then there are the people who want to lie to themselves and be like, oh, this is a problem that's just happening up north. Are you forgetting Stephen Lawrence? Are you forgetting the boy, the other, where was that? The young black boy that was just slain with a sword the other week. And instead of the papers writing about it accurately, they started calling him Sword Boy, as if he was the one that was carrying the sword, and it wasn't the fact that he was attacked by a white racist. Then think about the white racist that went and burned that mother and her 2 daughters, was it, in their home? And police were saying that they didn't know why he would have done such a thing, even though he literally wrote on his page all of this fascist rhetoric. We have to start calling the demon by its name. I'm so tired of hearing all of this stuff about Britain is not a racist country. Britain is not a racist country. Britain built its identity on racism. And if you want to send this to your unwashed, unseasoned souls that you know that will watch this and they'll be like, oh, you black monkey, stop talking, you black monkey. Let me tell you something. Migrants are not the reason that you are in the position that you are in. It's not. You're being lied to. The reason that your life is so discombobulated, the reason that your life is so jaga is because you have a family that believe that they are born to rule over you. That is the issue. You have a family that they believe they're born to rule over you, and they take the majority of your money to have all of their palaces while you're sitting there having to starve and put cheese, 1 piece of cheese in 2 slices of bread. They are telling you to be comfortable with where you are. You've got one leg that's turning purple with varicose veins and you can't see to it because the NHS is underfunded because they're funding this family. That's just one of the reasons. Another reason might be because your country keeps going to invest in wars. Your government keeps going to invest in wars. Instead of feeding you and your children, they're going to invest in wars. That's the problem that you should be facing. That's what you should be worrying about. And because of your dirty, nasty energy, it's why it's never coming home. I told you lot before. The same black men that you want to attack now are the ones that should have scored goals for you so you could carry you, so you can win the Euros. God forbid. You will never win a single thing until this behavior is addressed. And so when we're talking about practical things that need to be done, until these riots, these thugs are dealt with, I implore every black player, every black professional, semi-professional player to refuse to play football going forward until something is done about this, because your lives are in danger directly and indirectly, right? And I heard that Keir Starmer is now saying that we're going to have 24-hour courts to deal with the rioters, and good, because you knew how to bring them out for the Tottenham uprising, so you can bring them out for this as well, rightly so. And then going forward, we have to start thinking about community-based initiatives, and any that you know that are already set up. I know that there is like Tottenham Cop Watch or something, various organizations that you know that are set up that are more like community initiatives, so we can watch out for each other. Let's do that, because I need everybody to be safe. I need everybody to look after each other, because they seem to like target people as individuals, especially if you're like visibly Muslim, black, whatever the case may be. And this is why that comment by Liam Neeson a few years back, where he heard that his friend, a female friend, was sexually assaulted, and he'd asked her for some reason what the race of the man was, and she said black, and he said that he walked through the streets, one kind of street in Ireland, and he was looking for any black man to beat up. And I said that was a problem back then, but a black man, John Barnes, said, oh no, he commends Liam Neeson for his honesty. Black men, let black people across the board, let's start behaving. Young black boys that you lot are out there trying to do shanky with your swords, now you're seeing that the enemy is not each other. I'm not saying you should go and use those things for other people, absolutely not, but I'm asking you to realize that your lives are already in danger outside of yourselves. So the last thing you should be doing is turning in on yourselves, quite literally and figuratively. We all need to start getting our brains in gear. We all need to start understanding this is the country that we're living in. Some of you really wanted to get gassed when it was the Euros, and you're like, oh, you know, I can't lie, I feel slightly proud to be English. Look at you. Because this is what we were telling you was under the surface the whole time. Wake up. It's sad for you to realize that the country that maybe you were born in, that you spent most of your lives in, doesn't rate you like that. But things need to be done. So like I'm saying, we need to start having community initiatives where you can check in with each other and move together as a group. And I also need to remind you unwashed and unseasoned people that I was talking about before, that remember the last time that it wasn't one of us and then a group of you, when it was group on group. What happened? One of you lot got licked down, and it was Patrick Hutchinson that had to carry you on his shoulder to get you out of the trouble you found yourself in. Patrick Hutchinson is not coming to save you this time. He's not coming to save you this time. So mind out before you rascal out, find out, yeah? And I just feel like this needs to be said on a London level, because people are pretending like it's not a problem across England as a whole. You want to believe that London is a melting pot and nothing's going to happen here. Like, let's be serious. The new crossfire, like, let's be serious. There are so many ways that you can see that London is not immune from the nasty.
Okay, did it stop? Okay, that was good. go follow Kelechi on all the platforms, specifically Instagram. That's where I pulled that video from. Woo, she dropped a lot in there, and you guys can see why I just adore her to pieces. I would totally have a baby by Kelechi, by the way. But I'm sorry, I'm being silly. Where shall we begin? First of all, again, that same analysis could be easily applied right here to the United States. Everything that she mentioned about from the race thugs out in the streets causing violence and intimidation and attacking people. Were we not just on this here platform looking at Nashville, Tennessee, and the rise of neo-Nazis and white nationalists feeling emboldened to march, drill through the streets of downtown Nashville, verbally attacking and intimidating Black children in public, right under the watchful gaze of the police? What else did Kelechi say? I'm sorry. Oh, and when she talked about, and you lot need to be mad at your own family, she was talking about the royal family. Kelechi has been a vocal, the loud opponent of the royal family. and the national subsidizing of the royals as an entity and what the royals represent. The Great Britain that she spoke of, how did Britain get great? Because it was out here genociding its way to glory around the globe, doing atrocious things. And now the descendants of those plunderers have the audacity to be upset at the descendants of those whose lands and resources were themselves plundered, and them folks are coming to where their things are. They coming to where their things are. Same with the United States. All the political and economic destabilization, intentional destabilization of countries in the Western Hemisphere from the global South that America has done, coups, the lot of it, political assassinations, the lot of it, right? Caused all that fuckery in Latin America, and then go wonder, wonder why are these people coming here? Caused all that fuckery in the Caribbean with Cuba and Haiti. And I'm like, why are these people coming here? Because we destabilized. We fucked up the homelands. We stole all of the money, the resources, the natural wealth from these lands. So they are coming to be in the place where their shit is, where the spoils of the plunder from their homelands is. And who in the fuck can begrudge them for that? All we have to do is repatriate them their things, their lands, give their people back control over their country's natural resources, stop interfering, stop trying to meddle and encourage IMF interference in people's economies. Let these people be to themselves. Stop trying to capitalize them. And maybe they won't be coming to funky ass Britain. When Kelechi also talk about the bad vibration, that's what she calls the British Isles. She calls UK Bad Vibes Island. And it is, I believe, that characterization which has caused me to probably never ever want to travel to the UK. Like there to Europe as a whole, to be quite honest. If I cannot go see Europe before I go see Africa, like, oh my God, the shame. How could I do that? How could I, to myself, everybody? I'm not judging nobody. I'm just saying, like, I cannot go visit the seas without go visiting my bees, my bros, my sisters. I can't go see the go see the home of the crackers and not go home first if I'm able to. But you see how fucked up it is. From the US, it's way easier to get to Europe than it is to get to Africa. So anyway, I'm sorry, I got on a tangent. But I look at what's happening in the UK. I said, all this looks very plausible. And for the liberal rhetoric coming from Keir Starmer, coming from the Labour Party, talking about, this is not the Britain that we come to know and love. This is not the Britain. This is not the Britain that wasn't motherfucking Kamala Harris on the Democratic side and bullshit ass Tim Scott on the Republican side. Weren't they just popping that America is not a racist country bullshit within recent weeks and recent days? Why are these people trying to convince us that they not colonizers who are hell-bent on racial genocide, slow, fast, or otherwise? And here's the thing. Let me say this also, people. And goddamn, Kelechi made a lot of points there. When she was talking about the footballers going to protest, she said all the footballers should protest. That would be nice, but we know that's not likely to happen. The same way NFL players here, black NFL players, of which the NFL is over 60% black, and America worships American football more than Jesus. Let the black NFL players decide to have some sort of racial solidarity strike. Man, listen, it would be something to see that. I would be curious how white America would respond, but I don't expect that to happen. The same way I do not expect black footballers in the UK to take such a stand. However, for those that are black or non-white in your respective countries, UK or America, and you feel some sort of patriotism, for example, looking at the Olympics, right? And you're like, oh my God, everybody's doing it for the USA. And it's like, no, because as proud as we are, as much as we love Simone Biles and Noah Lyles and all them Africans, showing off their exceptional athletic talents. At the same time, you guys, look at what flag they are bearing. Look at what that flag stands for and represents and has always represented the whole time it has existed. America shows its racist ass every fucking day. And so for people, black folks especially, who be goofy and patriotic, for black folks especially, who are loud and wrong about undocumented migrants coming across the border, who the fuck are you taking up for? What the fuck are you taking up for? Like, tell me exactly what America has done for you. What has Britain done for you, black Brits? That you be like, oh no, we should. No, maybe they're not saying that. Maybe let me stick to my people, black Americans. I see clips all the time of regular ass folks on the streets of Chicago, of New York City, black folks complaining about the migrants. Yo, we full. How come they getting free hotels and they getting all this? It's like, y'all are mad at the wrong people. You need to be wrong at, you need to be wrong. You need to be mad at the system. You need to be mad at the people that have created the conditions that put us and the undocumented migrants in the same fucking boat, where we are out here trying to fight for crumbs when motherfuckers is living high on the goddamn hog, and we try to choke each other out over pennies, over shillings. You know what I'm saying? Niggas is sitting on billions, and we mad at the undocumented people who walked for 3 fucking months to get to goddamn Texas, only to be put on a fucking bus for another week to be dropped off in the middle of New York City to go sleep on a goddamn cot. Stop being mad at the people that ain't got shit. Be mad at the people that got shit. And whites, that go for you too. Kalechi was trying to kick this knowledge in her video. She said the whites, the reason she said why your life is discombobulated, and I think she said haga haga. She said your shit isn't haga haga, right? Your shit is all white working British people, white working class British folks, white poor British folks. Your shit isn't haga haga, not because of the migrants, because of the royals, because of the elites, because of the aristocracy, because of the exploitation of you by your own people. And then they try to point to the Muslims and to the black folks and to the Africans and tell you that they are taking shit from you. Shit that you never had. Shit that you never fucking had. You are being lied to, but your dumb ass is falling for. So again, is it misinformation or is it outright dumbassery, right? Because if you are so goddamn gullible that you can be so easily misled and directly led to violence behind the belief that this young man who committed this atrocious act of femicide against these little girls, if the reason you're upset is because you think he's an immigrant, you are wrong, mad at the wrong shit. And again, let this also be a reinforcement to how quickly the rage can focus away from violence against women and girls to another class divisive wedge issue, right? The focus should be on, why did this boy, this teen, target these vulnerable little girls? What in him decided to do that? What the fuck made him think any part of that was just or valid? And to be clear, I don't believe authorities have yet released a motive for this attack. I'm not certain what the motive could have been, but an obvious hatred of women and girls. And when we look at incidents of mass violence, right, be it mass shooters in the United States, the mass shootings that have occurred, I believe, in New Zealand, Canada, these white males overwhelmingly, and this guy was black, I understand that, but the overwhelmingly majority of the mass shooters have been the whites, right? And that's not even in dispute. Let the trolls go argue with themselves regarding that shit. When their social medias and or their manifestos were examined, right? These guys were what, red pilled or didn't want to be red pilled. I get the terminology confused sometimes about this whole men's rights movement, right? Which is a legitimate thing, but it's not recognized politically by governments. It's not recognized as a driver of violence. It's not recognized of mass targeted violence, right? A lot of these mass shooters have been on the record in their thoughts and in their writings about how much they hate women and how their goal is to incite chaos, but specifically to cause violence against women. And that's an issue that needs to be raised politically everywhere, okay? The UK, US, around the world, everywhere. But it's not taken seriously. I don't even think misogyny is a fucking hate crime in the UK or the US, right? Gender-based violence carries no specific criminal attachment to it in most places. But ultimately, my belief is if we can reach out to males, if we can get a hold of boys, if we can get a hold of their emotions, if we can teach them how they themselves can get a hold of their emotions, how we can desocialize them into thinking that violence is the answer, is the solution to their problems. I have no idea how some young men arrive at these conclusions where they feel as though the only way is murder, or even worse, mass murder. But here we are. So there's a lot. There are so many issues undergirding the race riots happening in the UKKK at the moment. I encourage us all to pay attention, take a look, because we could be seeing that shit coming to a city or state near you in just a few short months.